Welcome to the Bowel Chronicles, where we dive deep into the world of bowel health. I'm your host, Nikki Kilpatrick, and on this podcast we have raw and candid conversations with individuals facing various bowel conditions and illnesses. Through personal stories and shared experiences, we illuminate resilience and courage in the face of adversity. Be reminded that each story is personal and unique. These conversations are not to be taken as medical advice or to replace guidance from a doctor or healthcare provider. Our aim is to inspire and empower through these amazing stories, amplifying voices often unheard. So join us as we embark on this journey together. Sit back, listen, and be inspired. Enjoy the episode. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bowel Chronicles. I'm your host, Nikki Kilpatrick, and today we are joined by the lovely Hunter, live from Oklahoma, USA. Hunter, it's fabulous to have you on here to share some of your story with us today. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to grace us with your lovely presence. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Hunter, I've been following you on social media. I think we connected through your Bag Out Instagram page, which you've been putting together and just connecting different osteomates and people with kind of bowel conditions and things, which is absolutely amazing. And that's kind of how I came across you. And I've been loving building that kind of connection with you and just watching your story. So you've had your surgery, your ileostomy surgery, for about a year now.
Mm.
And I guess if we can just go back to before life, before your stoma surgery, and if you just tell us a little bit about what was going on in your life. I understand you have a very unique story. I'm excited to hear all of the detail today. I'm excited to be getting the opportunity to talk to someone with this. I don't know, what would you say? Extreme, not condition, but I don't know, unique type of awareness, how you are in the world and how you've been navigating the world, and just share that uniqueness with our audience and viewers today. So let's go back before surgery. Hunter, what was your bowel condition? What was it? What was it like? What was life like before surgery?
Ever since I was about 4 or 5 years old, I've complained of severe abdominal pain.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were always just like, "Oh, you're dramatic. There's nothing wrong with you. You just need to go to the, lose weight and exercise and eat healthy." Um, and when I was 10, I went to the doctor and he said, "Just lose a few pounds. Try Slim Fast." And so I did Slim Fast from 10 to 15 for breakfast and lunch.
So
And
can I just
yeah,
interrupt you there very quickly? A, a doctor has advised you to take Slim Fast.
as a child.
As a child, were you extremely overweight? What
Yeah.
was life like for you?
I was definitely larger than kids my age on average, but looking back at photos, there was no reason to give a child that age Slim Fast. I
Right.
couldn't have been more than 10 pounds over most kids my age.
Oh my days. Okay.
Yeah, it's insane to me. Yeah, so I wasn't much larger than other kids in my age group, but it was large enough that that was where they always went with it. And at 10, I started growing facial hair, and I'm a cisgender woman, so that was a concern. And so I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Let's put you on birth control." At 10. This will help regulate your hormones and make the facial hair stop growing in. And also you need to diet and exercise. And I was like, okay, sure. And my mom was like, all right. So we did that for a few years and my pain just kept getting worse and worse. And then I started having trouble where I had to urinate all the time. So I was constantly in the bathroom. And then a year after that, I constantly had to go to the bathroom because I was constipated and it hurt so bad. So I went from having bladder issues to bowel issues.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time they're just saying, drink your Slim Fast, exercise. So I'm riding my bike, I'm walking to school, I'm drinking Slim Fast left and right. And I just keep saying, Mom, Dad, this hurts really bad. Something is wrong with me.
Mhm.
And they're like, no, no, you're just dramatic. It's fine. So I turned 17
Mhm.
and I've stopped the Slim Fast, but I am still hurting so much. But I've just like come to terms with it. This is just what life feels like. This is just what period pain is like.
Okay.
So I just like, I guess everyone feels like this. I'll just quit whining.
Mhm.
And I got super, super dizzy at work. And I was like, that's weird. So I went to the gynecologist thinking it's a hormone thing. And she said, well, you're too young for an ultrasound. How about we put you back on birth control? And I was like, well, I was on that when I was like 10 and 11, and it just kind of made me sick. And I don't want anything to do with it. So I'm on the new birth control. She convinces me it's just because I'm overweight and I need birth control.
Mhm.
And the pain is just getting worse and worse. And my right side is a little bit larger than my left. And everyone's like, it's just how fat deposits there. It's just, that's just how life is. Being a woman is hard. And I'm just like, no, something is wrong. And I can't get anyone to listen to me. So 2 years go by, and now I have blood in the stool when I use the toilet, like lots of blood. And I'm like, okay, that's not good.
Yeah.
So I go to the doctor. They refer me out to gastroenterology. Gastroenterology says we can do a colonoscopy, but you're too young for a colonoscopy at 19. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'd still like one. Colonoscopy comes back clear, nothing wrong with me. And I'm like, okay, I guess people just bleed when they go to the bathroom sometimes.
Mhm.
Cool. So I go back to work. I'm a mechanic in a shop and I'm working on tires.
Mhm.
And to put the tires on the tire machine, you like bounce them off your hip or your abdomen onto the machine if you can't like lift them because they're pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And I was bouncing tires off my hip like I had been doing for like 2 years, and I started puking everywhere. And I was like, okay, that's not good. And my coworkers were like, what's going on, Hunter? Why are you, and I was like, I don't know. I feel kind of sick. And I'm like, it's not, hot outside. It's like, well, it's not heat stroke, I guess.
Mhm.
And so I just drink some water and I keep working. And then I passed out, hit the concrete. And it's like, oh, maybe I should go to the hospital. I'm bleeding a lot from my ass and I'm vomiting. Maybe something's wrong with me. So I go to urgent care. I go to the minor ER and I'm there for 17 hours getting x-rays and CTs and MRI. They did an ultrasound and they're asking me like, have you had surgery before? I'm like, well, I had an anal fistulotomy a couple years ago, but nothing in my abdomen. They're like, there's debris in your abdomen. Like they left something behind. And I'm like, that's not possible. They never opened my abdomen. Like, I don't know how it would get from here to here.
Mhm.
And they're like, something's wrong. And so they ordered a bunch of blood tests and everything is tanked. My white blood cells are high and it's like everything is just whack. And so they're giving me fluids and I'm waiting on all these results. And they're like, there's teeth. There are teeth in your abdomen.
Oh,
And I'm just like, okay. And being the person I am, I was like, so is this dental insurance or health insurance we're talking about? And they're like, can you stop being funny for two
yeah.
seconds?
Yeah.
Something is wrong. You might like be dying. And I was like, okay. Um, cool. So they schedule me to have this removed and they don't know what it is. And they scheduled me 2 months out from this date. I'm already like throwing up. I can't stand. I can hardly see. I've got migraines from hell.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't wear my pants because anything touching my side makes me like keel over. So it's it's like, okay, I'll see you in, 8 weeks for this, whatever the heck to be removed. And then a doctor from Italy calls me He was staying here in Tulsa doing residency, I guess. And he went through my scans and he said, "You have a teratoma." I said, "Okay, that sounds like cancer. Is that cancer?" And he said, "They can be, but yours I don't think is. I think yours is benign." And I was like, "Well, thank God." um, and so he called me in to look at the results. And what I thought was just like an itty bitty little, like, it's just a little bit of teeth. The teratoma was this big. The fluid on it was my entire abdomen. So it was encasing all of my organs, hurting my kidneys and my ribs and sitting on my bladder. It's like, oh, that's why it hurts so bad, because it's my entire body. Um,
What age were you at this stage? 19?
yeah, I was 19.
19. And you've been complaining of this from you were like 4 or 5, this
Yeah.
pain in your abdomen.
Yeah. I guess I was 21 in 2019. So I was 21 when this was happening.
It's a very, very long time to be suffering
Very long time.
in that amount of pain, to be basically gaslit by
Mm-hmm.
so many medical practitioners,
Yes.
doctors, hospitals, to
Family.
then be told you have this mass
Mm-hmm.
in your abdomen.
Yeah.
What was going through your head?
I started crying when I saw the scans, and he was like, "It'll be okay. We'll remove it." I said, "No, I'm so happy that there's something to explain what's been wrong with me
Mhm.
my whole life." And he was like, I wouldn't be happy about this if I were you." And I was like, "No, like, this is best case scenario. I'm not crazy."
Yes, yes,
And he was like, "Well, I you can find a silver lining if it helps you cope." And I was like, "It
absolutely.
does." So I try to work a little longer while I'm waiting for this surgery because I live on my own and I can't afford to not work. And plus, I loved my job. Being a mechanic was my whole life.
Okay.
And I just couldn't anymore. I was just so sick. I couldn't stand. It was like when I bounced that last tire off it, it's like I had done something to it.
Mhm.
And so I have to move in with my dad. I lose my apartment. I lose my job. They have me on temporary disability through my job. So I still have my position. I just can't work it.
Okay.
And so I'm living with my dad way out in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma.
Mhm.
The hospital is 45 minutes away. And I'm waiting 2 months for this surgery to happen. And about 2 weeks prior to surgery, I go, "Dad, I need to go to the hospital. Something's wrong with the teratoma. Like, I can't, like, something is really wrong." And he's like, "No, you're fine. It's not a big deal. Your surgery is in 2 weeks." After all of this had happened and they see the imaging of this thing, they're still like, "Oh, no, like, you're fine. It's, of course it's gonna hurt, but it'll be fine soon." So he goes to work on night shift, and I get in my car and I drive myself the 45 minutes to the emergency room in Tulsa.
Right. Did you,
And I get there.
was there a feeling of something has changed? Did you
Yeah, I
feel
was
something
super
differently?
like gray in the face. My hair was falling out like in clumps, like huge clumps. I had maybe like this much left.
Okay.
And I was like, something's changed. I couldn't eat. Anytime I ate, I was just puking it up. And I was like, that's not good. I can't do 2 weeks like that. And so I got to the ER and I waited there for 6 hours. And they got me back into triage. And they were like, "When's your surgery?" I'm like, "I think it's 2 weeks from today." And they said, "Okay, let me get you a CT." And in the CT, it showed my teratoma had ripped my ovary halfway off of my uterus. So I was slowly like bleeding into my abdomen. So on top of the fluid and the blood and all the pressure that was in my abdomen. And I had lost so much weight rapidly that it was just like it hurt so bad. And I was getting really, really weak from bleeding internally. Yeah. So the surgeon that was supposed to do my surgery comes into the hospital all mad at me because her son's wedding is in 6 hours. And so she's in like a very pretty outfit about to fly to Florida or something for her son's wedding. I'm like, you go, I can wait. And she's like, no, you can't wait. And I was like, well, I don't want you to miss it. She's like, I won't miss it. I just might not look as good as I was supposed to. And I was like, I'm sorry. If I could have picked a day to die, I would have picked tomorrow. I don't know. And so they they get they do the surgery, and they take out my appendix. They take out uh, part of my ileum cecum valve, so like part of my small intestine,
Yeah.
and then she took pictures for me of the and my ovary and of the teratoma,
Mhm.
and it had 13 teeth, hair, an eyeball, and a finger bone.
13 teeth,
Mm-hmm.
hair, a fingernail, and an eyeball.
Yeah, a finger bone, like the whole bone.
Finger.
And I was like, oh, so after taking my hair and my career and my health, it wants to flip me off too. How funny. And the doctor thought that was cute, but
So
yeah.
what is the explanation for that?
So my mom always said she thought she was having twins.
Mhm.
And in 1997, she just didn't really have the money to go get an ultrasound. I don't know how advanced they were at the time anyway to be able to tell like if something was wrong at that microscopic looking level. But usually with teratomas or fetus in fetu, you'll be born with like a foot sticking out of your head or an extra finger, or but because mine was probably the size of a pea floating around in my abdominal cavity, they'd never noticed it. And she gave birth to just one baby. She's like, oh, well, I guess there weren't twins.
But
And it's like, well, technically there were.
technically there were, but it was inside your abdomen.
Yeah, I just absorbed it in the womb.
That is
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. I've never heard of this. And I said to you when you completed your guest form, I actually had to Google what it meant because
Yeah.
so extreme, it's so unique. I never ever heard of it before. What a
Yeah,
story.
it's crazy. Yeah, so I spend just a couple hours in recovery at the hospital, and they send me home
Mhm.
after I got they tried to do laparoscopic, so they did the 4 holes on the abdomen, and then they did the midline incision.
Okay.
And that didn't work either. They had to deliver this teratoma C-section. So I got a C-section scar and the midline and 4 laparoscopics.
Oh my goodness.
So they send me home after giving me 2 large incisions that same day. And I think I'm home like 20 hours, and just black bile is pouring out of my mouth. And I'm like, that's not good. And my dad says, you just had surgery. You're fine.
No.
So he goes to work. I try to get my car keys and I can't walk. So I have to call an ambulance.
Mhm.
And I was told growing up, you call ambulances for emergencies. And in my brain, I'm still conditioned. This is not an emergency.
Yes.
But I'm like, I can't drive. He's not going to take me. I guess I got to. So they take me to the local hospital, and no matter what's going on, like they cannot get it to stop. So I had to get an NG tube for the first time. And now I've had like 8 of them. But that was awful the first time.
Okay,
And
I'm going to pause you for 1 wee second because our audience and viewers, if they're only listening for the first time,
mm,
maybe won't understand what an NG tube is. So we'll just explain it. If
yes.
you want to explain it.
So an NG tube, and you might be able to tell me the more like intelligent terms for this, but it's a tube that goes through your nose, down your throat, and into your stomach, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
It's nasal gastro. Is that what it stands
that's
for?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So when a patient is vomiting uncontrollably, usually due to an abdominal blockage or like a bowel blockage, they put the NG tube in to pull the bile and other things out of your stomach to keep you from puking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you have a stoma. Was your stoma
Mhm.
done at that stage?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay, that's all right.
No, you're fine.
No, it's okay.
Uh,
You have your NG tube done to aspirate and get all the bile, the black stuff
yes.
you're vomiting.
Get
Oh,
all that out. They transfer me to the hospital I had surgery at, the same hospital I was born at, and the same hospital I will most likely die at in old age. So they get me back over there, and I'm there for 21 days with no food. No, I'm in PO, so nothing by mouth. I am on that NG tube. If anything goes into my body to nourish me, it is through IV. I am on, can't remember what it's called, TPN.
you can, yeah.
Yeah.
Total correct
And
nutrition. Yeah.
yeah. And so I lose like 60 pounds. I'm very sick,
Hmm.
uh, cannot walk, can hardly see. And they're like, we don't know what's wrong with you. You're probably just recovering from surgery. It's fine. You know, you are a little obese. Maybe once you heal up, you can exercise. And it's like, I just lost 60 pounds in 3 weeks. What else do you want from me? I'm only like 180 pounds at this point. And so it's like, what?
Why do they automatically go to obesity or you're overweight?
Oh,
And that's what it is.
and I've been obese in my life, but it's never been the cause of my health issues. It's been the result of a health issue.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's like, okay. And I start having yellow liquid bile leave, like, I start having diarrhea constantly. It just won't stop. And so I'm puking this way and diarrhea out the other way, even though I can't eat anything.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's do another CT scan. So at this point, I think I've had like 6 CT scans in 4 months.
Hmm.
And they're like, you have a bowel obstruction. And I was like, what does that mean? And they're like, well, when we had to take that little piece of your ileum out, I guess it didn't heal good and it's strictured, and now there's stuff stuck in it, and you have to have more intestine removed. So they cut me down the middle again. I didn't even have the staples out from the first time. And they had to take only 2 inches, but 2 inches is a lot when you've had all that other stuff going on.
Yeah.
And so I lose more of my ileum, all of my ileum cecal valve, which is where the ileum meets the colon and helps keep the colon shut.
Yeah.
Um, and so I heal from that surgery. I go back to work a couple months later. I'm still having yellow liquid diarrhea constantly, whether I eat or drink or fast, or it doesn't matter. I am just constantly on the toilet. And I'm like, I guess this is just my life now because, I lost some intestine. And so I'm looking up like bile acid malabsorption, short bowel syndrome. I'm trying to find anything.
Yeah.
And they had diagnosed me with Crohn's disease when they removed that couple inches of intestine because it was inflamed.
Right.
Um, the only reason I would think I have Crohn's is because I remember all the years prior I had blood in the stool but they didn't see anything in my
Colon.
colonoscopy.
Hmm.
So I was like, well, maybe it's just because the tumor was sitting like right on my guts and it just irritated the lining. So they put me on Humira, an injection to help with the Crohn's disease. But the whole time they're saying, you're in remission. And I'm like, well, if this is remission, I don't want to know what Crohn's disease is like. Because if
In
I'm on the
remission,
toilet,
but
yeah,
you're in the toilet 24/7.
exactly. I'm on the toilet 20 times a day, up to 6 hours a day, whether I eat or drink or don't eat anything at all. And it's like, well, if this is remission, what kind of a life is this? It's like, what are people who are going through IBD really feeling if this is the best it gets for them?
Yeah.
It's like, this is awful. So Humira doesn't work. It doesn't make the bile stop because I'm in remission. And so I get a referral to the Mayo Clinic here in America
Okay.
because they help patients, in really weird situations find a way to heal and be more comfortable.
Hmm.
And they ask for a stool sample and they do an MRI and a CT and a colonoscopy. And I set the stool sample in the container And they're like, "Ma'am, we said stool sample, not urine sample." And I said, "Yeah, that's why I'm here. Sorry." And they're like, "Have you tried an exercise routine and eating like fibrous vegetables like broccoli or, like have you tried diet and exercise?" And I was just like, they said in my MRI they saw an itty bitty little pinpoint of inflammation on my colon, but nothing to be concerned about, and to just keep taking my Humira. So I had to fly all the way there to do all these things and come all the way back.
Well,
And so I went there and got no answers. And I was like, man, something is wrong. There's no way this is my life now. I was not like feeling great before, but this is way worse.
mhm.
And I spent like 4 years trying to get a doctor to listen to me. Um, I had one really good gastroenterologist that was like, something is wrong. We tried Xifaxin, we tried a Lomodal, we tried cholestyramine to try to like slow down the liquid from going through my body,
Yeah.
because it was every 20 to 30 minutes I was on the toilet and I'd be in there for like an hour. Then I started having incontinence all the time and the acid was burning my legs. So I've got scars all over my backside from all the times I had to use the bathroom.
And
And
could like what was your eating habits like? Did you have a hunger? Did you want to eat? Because all of that was happening. I know if it was me, I would be like, I can't do food. I can't do it
yeah,
because it's just straight
it
in.
got to the point where I was just like, no to food. I couldn't eat anything leafy or green, which was like my favorite thing, because no matter what I ate, it came out whole. It's like I wasn't digesting anything.
Mhm.
So if I ate it, I saw it. And I was like, ugh. I was like, this is just, so I was eating mostly like bread and cookies.
Mhm.
Those were two like safe things.
Yes.
Um, Safer. They didn't hurt as bad because there wasn't any solid pieces to get stuck in my bowels.
Sure.
Yeah. And I spent years like this. Uh, and I was gaining so much weight despite hardly eating like what 500 calories a day.
Mhm.
Um, because of all of the fluid retention, and also because when you don't feed your body, it holds on to everything it gets because it thinks you're going to die.
Mhm.
And it's like, I am literally starving to death over here. So my blood work is terrible. Like, I have no vitamins, no electrolytes,
Yeah.
and I
Malnourished.
can't drink anything. It's just, oh, it's terrible. And so I start looking for solutions. I'm like, what can make me more mobile and maybe hurt less? And it's like, ooh, ostomy bag. So I do all this research about ostomy bags.
Mhm.
And I have a colon and rectal surgeon, a gastroenterologist.
Mhm.
And I'm like, hey, I want an ostomy bag. I want a colostomy bag specifically. And they're like, no, you're way too young. You're way too young. Your Crohn's is in remission. And I'm like, okay, if it is Crohn's, this is not remission. This cannot be remission. At least like a little bit of extra quality of life somewhere
Mhm.
remission would bring.
Yeah.
Something. So I go back and forth with the colon rectal surgeon for 3 years. And I wear him down. And he's finally like, okay, I'll think about doing it in December. And this is 2022.
Mhm.
And I'm like, thank you. Um, it's like end of 2022, early 2023. And he said, but you know that like people will see it, right? And I said, yeah. Um, I don't care if you put it on my forehead. I need something to
Water.
survive here. And he's like, when you wear a bikini, it's gonna show. And I said, yeah, I assume so.
Mhm.
It'll be on my abdomen. And do you see me in a bikini right now? I'm constantly on the toilet. There's a toilet in this doctor's office, and I was doing appointments on the toilet while talking to this man. It's like, what? When is this body going to be on the beach if it can't leave the bathroom?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, okay, well, come back in a month, lose 20 pounds, and we'll talk about doing the surgery. So at this point, I think I'm 230 pounds, and he wants me to be 210 pounds.
Mhm.
Because a fat body can't have an ostomy bag, because a fat body can't have a good surface area for the. It's like, I have a friend who's 600 pounds with an ostomy bag, and he does just fine. But
Mm.
okay, you're the doctor.
Yeah. In an ideal world, that's what they want.
So
Mhm.
I stop
Exactly.
eating the bread and the cookies,
Yeah.
and I'm just drinking water. Water and body armor. That's all I've got.
Mm.
And I go back a month later. He says, I'm so glad you could be here. You're my last patient. I retired today.
Oh, damn.
And I'm like, I'm
If
very happy for you. And I burst into tears because I had been wearing him down, trying to get him to give me the surgery. And he finally agreed, but then he quit.
Mhm.
So I go to my gastroenterologist and he's like, I wish I had the authority to do this for you, but I'm not that kind of surgeon.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I, I'm out of options. Either I get the bag or I'm not going to be here next year. Either my body's going to kill me or I'm going to, it's like, I can't
Yeah.
do this anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah. It was like, this is not a life. I'm literally dying. So a new doctor moves into the building and fills my doctor's place that just retired. And I go visit her for my first appointment with her, and she's super nice. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I'm trying to get an ostomy bag. I'm literally dying. Like, it's terrible. My quality of life is kaput. I've lost my job. I can't get married to my fiance. I can't eat anything. I can't leave my bathroom. And she's like, oh, but you're so young. You're too young for that. And I'm like, I understand, but I don't agree. I need this or I'm not going to be here. And so we do that back and forth for like 3 or 4 appointments. And finally she's like, okay, I need you to lose 60 pounds and I'll see you in 2 months and we'll do a consult for your surgery. Because now at this point, I'm 265 pounds. Because even without eating the bread and the cookie, to lose that 10 pounds, I gained more weight.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? What? Because my body was starving. So it was trying to hold on to anything it could get. And somehow, by the grace of God, I am able to drop 60 pounds in 2 months. So I'm 200 pounds now.
Mhm.
And she goes, let's try a sacral nerve stimulator. And I'm like, hmm. She says, if you do the sacral nerve stimulator and it doesn't work, we'll discuss getting an ostomy. Sacral nerve stimulators are usually for urinary tract issues. They help stimulate the sacral nerve to help prevent people from having urinary incontinence. But sometimes they help with bowel incontinence, which was not my complaint. It wasn't fun when it would happen, but my complaint is I can't get off the toilet. And so I do the sacral nerve stimulator and it does not work. Shocker. So now I have 2 big scars on my back from this robot they stuck in me.
Mhm.
And so then January of 2023 comes around and they remove it. And I'm like, okay, I tried the stimulator. I did everything you said. I've tried all the supplements and exercises and diets, and I have to have this bag. And if you can't give it to me, I'm going to have to go somewhere else and start all over. Please don't make me do that. She's like, okay, we'll give you the ileostomy, but I think you need an ileostomy because I don't think you're thin enough for a colostomy. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And she's like, but they have a higher dehydration rate. I'm like, I'm dehydrated now, which I was. And she said, okay, well, I'll see you May 1st for your ostomy surgery, but don't get over 200 pounds. So I have to stay at 200 pounds from January to May. I do it.
Challenge. Well done. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I go to my pre-op appointment, and the ostomy nurses, stoma nurses go, I don't think this is gonna work. I don't think you're thin enough. I think your body habitus is too large. And I said, I don't care about the placement. If you can put it somewhere, please put it somewhere. If it has to be on my side or my back, I don't know where you're allowed to put these things, but if it's in the most inconvenient place possible, I do not care. I just want to live. And the stoma nurse had a stoma, and she's like, I just don't think you can do one. I just don't think. And so they mark 3 spots on me, but they're like, none of these are gonna work. And so they put a 4th spot on me, and it's up in my rib cage. And they're like, this is going to be very difficult to deal with, but this is your only option. And I'm like, okay, I've dealt with this so long. So they do the surgery. I wake up and I'm like, oh, I got a bag. And they're like, ma'am, don't hit it. And I'm like, I have an ostomy bag. I'm going to live. And
Yeah.
my rib inflamed. It still hurts. I still have to get pain injections in it. But I got the ostomy bag. My blood work is all green. It's perfect. And now my only issues are I'm not eating enough because now I've developed an eating disorder from all of the weight loss. I'm still kind of afraid of food because of what it used to do to my body.
Yeah.
And I just don't prioritize nutrition like I want to. I've had plenty of salads since getting my ostomy, and I've been perfectly fine. But for some reason, there's this mental block where if you eat, you'll be sick.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm dealing with now. That's the only 2 problems I have is I keep getting kidney stones from dehydration, which I was getting before surgery,
Okay.
and I'm not nourishing my body. But I'm nourishing it enough where my blood tests are all perfect. So
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Pain wise, do you have any pain in your abdomen?
No. Oh, I forgot to mention when they did the ostomy surgery, my twin's umbilical cord was tied around my colon. So that's why my colon was so messed up because it cherry stemmed around my colon.
What an
Yeah.
absolute story. Incredible. Like you have been through one hell of a ride.
Yeah.
All right, and here you are in good spirits, sharing it with all of us. Honestly, I have so much admiration for you. You're such a strong woman. Honestly, unbelievable, incredible. I just, I'm so sorry that you have had to go through the journey you have.
Mhm.
Like all of those hospitals, doctors. You know, putting those thoughts into your head about weight and how you look and we can't do this because of your weight is
Yeah.
absolutely, it's just complete and utter nonsense, because
Hmm.
if someone needs emergency surgery,
Yeah.
they do an ostomy regardless of their weight.
Hmm.
you know. And what they're doing is planting those seeds into your head that you're overweight and this is how you look, and that then obviously encourages people to end up with eating disorders, and their thinking becomes
Yes.
totally, disordered. And
Hmm.
it will take a while to recover from that.
Yeah.
you know you're a year down the line, you're doing great, you keep getting dehydrated, you were getting dehydrated beforehand, you live
Hmm.
in the States, the climate is going to do that. And I guess it's going to be about you actively saying, okay, I need to help myself. I need to do these things for
Yeah.
myself. So, taking those things, like I pop electrolyte capsules into my juice um, every couple of days to keep my electrolytes multiplied,
Yeah.
which does help. But I have to actively say, I need to do this. And
Yeah.
why am I doing it? Oh, I get thirsty. I'm drinking a lot today. Why am I drinking a lot? I don't want to get dehydrated. I'll pop these capsules in to help myself. And then the other thing is, in the last few months, I've gone the other way. So I was eating all of the low residue stuff that they had advised post surgery. So I'm almost at 6 months post surgery. But it was all of the foods. Kind of being a wellness coach, my thing is I like good nutrition. And
Yeah.
all of the foods that they tell you to that are low residue, like white bread and pastas and bulky foods, I'm like, those are not healthy. Like I
Yeah.
shouldn't be
Not in
eating
large
these.
like
Yeah,
yeah.
and a large amount of marshmallows and jelly sweets and things to
Mhm.
limit your output. And eventually, what was happening, my body was craving them, and I was just feeding them more and more because
Yeah.
it's what my body wanted. But then I started to gain weight. I was like,
Mhm.
this isn't working. I actually need to be eating all of the foods that I was eating 4 years ago that are healthy.
Yeah.
Um, and kind of getting your head around that and the discipline of that is difficult.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
have found like meal prepping and planning my days out works for me. And as a result of that, I've been able to keep the consistency of my stoma output the same throughout the day. And I'm able to better manage it. But again, it's that this is the plan, this is what I'm going to do. And
Yeah.
everybody is different, you know. Have they give you any counseling or referred you to anybody to kind of help you? They have.
Yeah, nutritional counseling.
Okay.
And
Huh.
she said try diet and exercise. Drink a boost or a slim fast for breakfast. So I'm kind of relying on our community for recipes and nutrition because they're going to know better, I think.
Absolutely, 100%. And
Yeah.
let's just talk about that. When you say about our community, the online community that we have as Ostomates, connecting on Instagram and social media is a really special community.
Yes.
People, they have your back. They want to help you because they can relate. They know exactly what you're going through, and nobody wants them. Like when I heard you had the NG tube and you've had it done several times, being someone who's had an NG tube, I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I know
Hmm.
the benefits of it and it works. It's
Yes.
really, really helpful, but it's not a nice process having it inserted and removed and actually having to go several days or weeks.
Yeah.
And it's not nice, but it works. And so when you get the support from a community and people can relate to you, that definitely helps. And I just we've been talking for 40 minutes. You wouldn't see time going in here. But Hunter, you now have created your bag out Instagram page and you're connecting with people all over the world. You're getting them to share their stories, to share their pictures, to build up a really, really good community. What has that meant to you? How did that come about?
So because of my high stoma placement up towards my rib cage, I always liked to wear crop tops before surgery anyway, but I started wearing them because having a full shirt over my ostomy bag was painful post-op because of the sutures and all my staples again. And
Yeah.
so I just started wearing crop tops again, like I used to, with fun bag covers. And a lady in the store said, why do you have your bag out? And I said, well, it's more comfortable and it's summer and I like to. And I was like, your bag out. That's a good that. That's so because of a mean lady's little snotty remark. And it brought me back to when my doctor said, you won't look good in a bikini anymore. And it's like, sure I will. So I've just made it, my whole thing to have my bag out because it educates people like that who are so close-minded that you can have a life like we all get to have.
Exactly.
Um, and it also empowers those with an ostomy that are not quite so confident yet and have
Mhm.
felt down on themselves because they're different now.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
that is a big hurdle to get over for a lot of people. I know it's a hurdle
Hmm.
whenever you come out of surgery and you're like, oh my goodness, looking at it for the first time, never mind
Yeah.
stepping into this new way of life of waking up every day and going, oh my goodness, this is attached to me forever. This is it for the rest of my life. And you
Yeah.
can look good, you can dress it up, you can put bags on and do various different bag covers and do various different things. You can expose it or you can hide it. You can
Hmm.
wear it whatever way you want. And it's about realizing that you can have that body confidence and you can feel good about your
Yeah.
image. And you shouldn't feel shame or embarrassment for what potentially is saving your life.
Yes.
At least that's how I view it. Hunter, it's been amazing having you on Share Your Story. I will be sharing Hunter's Instagram handle here below in the show notes. So I would imagine you might have some questions with regards to teratoma and the fetus and fetu. You know, how did that come about? Things that maybe we haven't talked about, people might have questions for. I don't know. Maybe there's another person out there in the world who can relate to you.
Yeah.
Um, so questions, pop them over to Hunter's page, and definitely give her a connect there with her, follower, and watch the journey unfold. She's a year in, and I'm sure it's going to be an epic journey as you continue to build your Instagram page and connect with other ostomates. So keep doing what you do, Hunter. If there was one thing that you wanted to leave our audience and viewers with today, what would it be?
You always know your body better than anyone else. Always, always, always advocate for yourself
Mhm.
because no one else is going to do it like you will.
Yeah. And you are an
Yeah.
absolute example of that. Knowing from you were 4 years of age, there was something not right with you up
Hmm.
until you were in your 20s, and even the battle after that to get your ileostomy, it's been what a roller coaster ride for you. Well, Hunter, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us today. To our audience, that is us finished for this week. Do come back next week for another episode, but from Hunter and I today, it is over and out.